All right, let's dive into something you use every day, but you probably never really think about. Words. The top 100 most common words in the English language.
Yeah, we're using the Oxford English corpus, right? It's this huge database of text.
So we're not just like skimming the surface here.
No.
This is a deep dive into these words, exploring the patterns and insights that they can reveal about us and how we communicate.
What I think is really fascinating is that a lot of these common words are incredibly old.
Yeah.
Like fossils.
Okay, so let's unpack this.
Okay.
So first up, we got to talk about these things called function words.
Right.
Can you kind of explain to us what exactly those are?
So function words, think of them as like the glue that holds a sentence together. The words like the, of, and a, to.
Okay.
And you know what's remarkable is that they completely dominate the top 20 most frequent words.
It's funny to think about, like,
Yeah.
these little tiny words. They're like the most common words.
Yeah.
Can you imagine trying to have a conversation
Oh my goodness.
only using the top 20 words?
It'd be very difficult.
It would be quite a challenge.
But it highlights their importance.
Right.
Because they're so fundamental to the structure of our sentences.
And it's crazy to think about, too, you know, looking at this top 20, it's just like a sea of single-syllable words.
Yeah.
Be, to, of.
Yeah.
Almost like our language evolved to be as efficient as possible.
And it's interesting, too, because when you consider that so many of these words come from Old English.
Right.
Which is the language that was spoken in England before the Norman Conquest in 1066.
So for over 1,000 years.
I know. It's incredible.
These basic building blocks of sentences have just remained stable.
It's wild. Like through all the historical events and the cultural shifts and technological advancements.
Yeah.
And yet there they are.
These core elements have just endured.
Because they represent fundamental concepts that are essential to human experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, regardless of time or place.
So these function words we've kind of established, they're like the unsung heroes of our language.
Right.
But what about the words that carry like the real meaning, right?
Yeah.
The nouns, the verbs, and the adjectives.
Yeah. Yeah.
What can we learn from those?
That's where things get really exciting.
Okay.
Let's start with the nouns.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just looking at the list here.
Yeah.
The most common noun is time.
It is.
That's pretty telling, wouldn't you say?
Very.
I mean, it seems like we as humans, we're constantly preoccupied with this concept of time.
We are.
And then, you know, you have person, year, way, day. It's just all these concepts that shape how we view the world.
It was fascinating is that many of these common nouns have multiple meanings. Which contributes to their frequency, right?
Okay.
Like, for example, way has 18 different meanings.
18.
18. Listed in the dictionary.
Wow, that's like a linguistic Swiss Army knife.
I know, right?
No wonder it's so high on the list.
And then another reason is that they form the basis of so many common phrases. Think about it. Like on time, in time, last time, next time.
Right.
It's just woven into, you know, the way we express ourselves.
Okay, let's shift gears.
Okay.
And talk about the action words, the verbs.
Yeah, so the verb.
What patterns kind of jump out at you there?
So the top 25 most frequent verbs are all one-syllable words. Be, have, do, say, get. Short, direct, to the point.
Why do you think these like fundamental actions are represented by such simple sounds?
Perhaps because they're so primal. You know, these verbs represent the most basic actions that we take: existing, possessing, performing, communicating, obtaining. You know, they're the bedrock of human experience.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, and finally, let's talk about the adjectives.
Okay.
Those descriptive words.
Okay.
What tops the charts there?
Good.
Good.
Good, Tristan.
Yeah, right?
Why good? Why good? I mean, given that human history is full of conflict and hardship.
Right.
But maybe, you know, it speaks to our innate desire for things to be positive. Or at least our tendency to frame our experiences that way.
Yeah.
You know, to focus on the good.
Okay.
Even when faced with bad.
And what about some of the other adjectives on the list?
So we have new, first, last, long, great, little, old. It's like a basic set of crayons for coloring our world. Just enough to describe our basic experiences.
So we have these tiny efficient function words holding everything together.
Yeah.
And then we have these more descriptive nouns, verbs, and adjectives.
Yeah.
Kind of adding like color and meaning
Exactly.
to our sentences.
Yeah.
It's like a perfectly balanced ecosystem.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder, like, what does this all tell us about ourselves
Right.
when we zoom out and look at the big picture?
Yeah.
What can we learn? It's like, these words are artifacts
Yeah.
from a forgotten civilization,
Right.
offering us clues
Yeah.
about, who we are.
We've been talking about how many of these words are super old.
Right.
What can we learn like about the evolution of English
Yeah.
by tracing the history of some of these words?
Let's take the word good, for example.
Okay.
Our most common adjective.
Yeah.
Its roots can be traced back to this Proto-Germanic word gudas, which meant fitting or suitable or like appropriate.
Interesting.
And it's just fascinating how the meaning has like evolved over time to encompass this wider range of positive qualities.
Right. From morality to like skill.
Exactly.
So good has been around for a while.
Yeah, for a long time.
Way before like modern English.
Oh, yeah, way before
Right.
it came about.
Absolutely.
Do we see similar patterns with other words?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Like take the verb know.
Its origins can be traced back to the Proto-Indo-European root ene,
Wow.
which meant to know or to recognize. So that fundamental desire for knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Like that's deeply ingrained in our language going back thousands of years.
It's amazing how much history is packed into these like simple words.
I know, it's really incredible.
We've talked about individual words, but what about like the big picture?
Yeah.
What are some of the most striking patterns that you see in this list of 100 words?
Like as a whole, one of the most prominent patterns is the prevalence of concrete, tangible concepts. Look at the most common nouns: time, person, year, way, day, thing, man, world, life, hand.
Okay.
Our language is very deeply grounded in the physical world.
That makes sense, especially when you consider how language evolved as like a tool for survival. Early humans, they needed to be able to communicate about like hunting, gathering food, avoiding danger. So being able to talk about like concrete objects and actions, it was essential.
Essential for survival.
And even though human societies have become much more complex, that emphasis on the concrete world, it's still there.
It's persisted.
But we do see like evidence of abstract thought in there as well, right?
Absolutely.
Words like know, think, want.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's not all concrete.
It's not all concrete.
What's interesting though is how even those abstract concepts are often expressed using metaphors that are rooted in the physical world.
Exactly.
Like when we say we grasp an idea or we feel our way through a problem.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like our minds are constantly looking for ways to connect the tangible and the intangible.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So in a way, this list of 100 words, it gives us a window into how humans make sense of the world.
Right.
Both physically and abstractly.
So it's not just a tool for communication.
No, it's much more than that.
It's a reflection of who we are.
Exactly.
As a species.
Like our values, our priorities, our ways of thinking.
Okay.
They're all encoded in these words.
So if we want to better understand ourselves, we need to pay attention to the language we use.
Exactly.
This deep dive has given us a really interesting look at the interplay between language, thought, and culture.
I agree.
We've covered so much ground already, but I'm curious. Is there anything else about this list of words that you find particularly intriguing?
Yeah, there are a few things actually.
Okay.
It's really amazing, how much we can learn about ourselves by just like paying attention to the language that we use every day.
Yeah.
It's almost like those optical illusions. Once you see the hidden pattern, you can't unsee it.
And one of the things that's really stood out to me is that language isn't static. It's constantly evolving, just like we are. If we were to make this list again like 100 years from now, it would look totally different.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
I mean, technology would advance.
Yeah.
Social norms would change.
Right.
New ideas would emerge. And language adapts to all of that. Like new words get invented. Old words take on new meanings.
Right.
And the frequency that we use words fluctuates.
So it's like a snapshot
Yeah,
of who we are right now.
it is. Yeah.
But it's also a snapshot of
Yeah.
who we were and like maybe a hint
Yeah.
of who we might become.
That's a great point.
Makes you wonder
Yeah.
if we could add a word to this top 100 list today.
Yeah.
A word that really captures
The essence of like our current moment.
our current moment in history. What would it be?
What would it be?
Yeah. What comes to mind for you?
You know, one word that immediately jumps out at me is connection.
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 Why that word?
Well, I mean, think about it. We live in a world that's more interconnected than ever before.
Right.
Technology has enabled us to communicate with people across vast distances. You know, access information from anywhere.
Yeah.
And that has really like fundamentally changed how we live, work, and interact.
It's true. Like social media,
Yeah.
online communities, even this deep dive,
Right.
it's all about connecting.
It's all about connecting with other people.
And I think beyond the technology, there's also a growing awareness of our interconnectedness. Just on like a human level.
Okay.
We're realizing that our actions have ripple effects.
Right.
You know, they impact not just us, but also the people around us and the planet around us.
So connection captures both the technological and the human aspects of our current moment.
And it's a good reminder that we're all part of something bigger than ourselves.
It makes me wonder,
what word would our listeners choose to add to this list?
that is a great question.
So, dear listeners, we leave you with this final thought. If you could add a word to this top 100 list, a word that reflects the current state of the world, what would it be and why?
Yeah, think about it.
Share your word of the times
How about that?
with us on social media or with a friend.
Yeah, we'd love to hear your thoughts.
And that's it for this deep dive into the 100 most common words.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Until next time, keep exploring this fascinating world of words.